Today we're joined by the Minister of Education, Minister Stephen Lecce. Thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time to answer some of our viewers' questions.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, as of today, what is the current status and update on the school closures in the province?
Absolutely. Our commitment is to ensure that families are safe and children are safe. It's why Ontario was one of the first jurisdictions in the industrialized world to close schools. We were decisive and we'll do whatever it takes to keep the kids safe and our families. Today, the Chief Medical Officer of Health in Ontario, Dr. Williams, has recommended to myself and to Cabinet to keep schools closed until April 6th. We've done that. But I recognize that many provinces and states all across the continent are closing them longer than that. So as soon as I get advice from Dr. Williams, the scientific medical advice about closures beyond the 6th of April, I will communicate them to you. However, I want to be honest. We should be preparing for school closures beyond that period. I mean, I don't want to speak for Dr. Williams, but it's very possible. And we will have a plan to ensure the learning continues. We scale it up. We make it as accessible to as many young people as possible so that they keep themselves busy learning curriculum over that period of time.
Absolutely. Now, can you talk to us about the letter that you wrote directly to parents in Ontario?
Absolutely. I'm reaching out with an open letter to parents and moms and dads across Ontario because I recognize that it's an unprecedented time. It's a tough time on a lot of us, a lot of kids. There's anxiety and pressure. And I want parents to know that I will be as transparent as possible to communicate directly with you about our intentions. And that letter, I think, speaks about how we're going to keep kids learning by creating an online portal, ontario.ca/learn at home. It's about ensuring that kids with graduation, if you have a child graduating, if they're in grade 12, making you know that we will ensure that your child will be able to graduate, that we've waived various graduation requirements, including the EQAO literacy test. It's about how we're providing mental health supports through Kids Help Phone. You could text 686868 right now if you're a student out there looking for some mental health support, if you feel a bit of pressure and anxiety. And it's also just about encouraging parents to talk to their kids about COVID-19 and how each and every one of us right now, today, could play a role in helping to change the trajectory of this the virus and really help bend the curve and save lives.
And how do you think parents should be talking to their kids about the virus? Because obviously there's so much access to information on social media, on the news. So what language or how should they be framing the situation for young kids?
I think it's about encouraging personal responsibility. The truth is, no government alone or doctor or a hospital could alone fight this virus. It's going to literally require every single citizen, young and old, to participate and do their part, staying home, respecting social distancing, washing your hands. I mean, these things may sound small, but they literally together will save lives. If we take action today, we could literally help prevent injury, sickness, or death tomorrow. And that is our obligation to each other. So my message to parents is to really encourage that sense of citizenship, personal responsibility, and duty, because none of us want to get a family member, particularly a grandparent, sick as a consequence. So taking it seriously is important, but also reminding students that they have an opportunity to learn, even if they're not going to be in class. That's important as well, making sure that they're focused on studies. So if we could do both those things, we'll make sure our kids emerge from this with a sense of optimism, that they can get back into the schools with the confidence that they'll be learning and graduating and getting good jobs.
And there's been a lot of talk about school moving to some sort of online portal. What resources are there for the kids that maybe don't have access to computers or technology in their homes?
For sure. So there are, most students will have access to some technology, but for those that don't, what we've done is we've ensured that TVO, which is on Channel 2, it's a free broadcast that the province owns, the Ministry of Education owns, and we're providing it in English for TVO and TFO in French. We're providing that service to every student because every student would have access to Channel 2. You don't need to have satellite or cable. And by doing so, we're making the entire day's program, reorienting it to make it all about kids learning. That's step one. Step two is making sure that boards of education get computers and technology to those kids that need it. And the third step we're looking at is printing out documents for those that don't have internet, for example, and getting them to kids' homes so that they're able to at least have the course material in front of them. We're looking at every option. We're open to every idea. The truth is we have to be innovative right now because it's an unprecedented time, and we have to be decisive and quick. And I think the government has done that to date, but I also appreciate that parents want the best for their kids. So we're going to continue to raise the bar and do our very best to keep your child learning in a safe environment.
And now, speaking of safe environment, unfortunately, for a lot of kids, that safe space is going to school. It's spending time away from home and being with teachers and adults that care for them. What resources or what can the province of Ontario do now that that safe space has been pretty much taken away from them?
Well, one thing we're doing is we provide over about $1 million to Kids Health Phone, which is an incredible service that provides mental health counseling, guidance, and support for young people who particularly feel a bit isolated, alone, or maybe face their own mental health challenges. So we're doing things like that to provide those resources. We're also ensuring that the curriculum is accessible in all languages. We're making sure that those resources are embedded. And in the open letter I provided to parents, I actually emphasized that there's a lot of kids out there that will need additional support now more than ever. So we're very vigilant of that. We're concerned about it. But I think if we, as parents, government, educators, work together, we can give our kids the best education during a very turbulent and difficult experience, I think, on all of them.
Of course. And I guess another situation that a lot of people are concerned about are these essential workers, these workers that have kids, can't work from home. And I did hear about the open daycares for essential workers. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? And how does the government classify what is an essential worker and what is not?
Yeah, we're starting with a recognition that some of our frontline workers, particularly in the healthcare sector and our first responders, are really playing a critical role in saving lives. And we have an obligation to make sure if we could reduce the impacts on the home front so that they're not staying home to watch a child when they want to be. In many cases, they want to be back in a hospital or in a biology lab or being on the field as a fire or police person. I mean, the fact is we have an obligation to help them. So if we could reduce the impacts in the home front to allow them to do what they need to do, the critical work they're doing every day to keep us safe, that is a small but important way we can make their lives a bit better. That's why we've unveiled this. It'll be free to our first responders. It'll be done in the highest adherence to health and public health requirements. This recommendation actually came from Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, who suggested there's got to be a solution for those critical workers. So we've done that, but we're going to do it in a safe way. But yes, it's about ensuring frontline workers, particularly in the first responder sector, are able to have some additional support. I think we just have to have their back right now. They're doing incredible, heroic work, and I want to make sure they know that they're supported. And we'll do everything we can to enable them, especially our nurses and doctors, to do what they got to do. And they've got to do some critical work and heavy lifting over the coming days as we see the numbers rise.
Of course. And last but not least, is there any message that you would want to share to our viewers regarding this entire crazy situation that we're in right now?
Just two things. The first is do your part. I know citizens watching at home, they know that they can make a difference. We see what's happened in Italy, increasingly in Spain and other jurisdictions. And we have an obligation to ourselves, to the loved ones around us, and to our country to be role models to our kids. And so let's make sure that we take the advice seriously of the medical officers in Toronto and Ontario and Canada, right across the nation. And the second is know that, at the end of the light, that it will overcome the darkness, that we will get through this. We always have throughout our history. We faced adversity and challenge, but our country is a resilient one. We've got a strong spirit. And I know that if we stay together, stay focused, and stay optimistic, that we'll overcome this challenge.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Minister Lecce, again, for joining us and for all of these important answers.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.